What's up? All right, Jeff, what's doing? Is there a micro? No, there is no micro NG, Jeff. I've got to believe that they're going to do it. They're going to do it. I hope they do it. There is no micro NG. Not that I know of. The biggest problem that we'd be facing is, natural gas has bad liquidity to begin with. We need, if they're going to do a micro, it's got to have tremendous popularity. I wouldn't recommend trading natural gas with that small of an account. I would not do it. It's not worth it. You could blow the account on a bad trade. Something can happen with natural gas. It really is possible. All right, good morning, everybody. I'm going to start a minute or two early because the streaming has started. So welcome to the natural gas storage report. I'm not going to really do anything for a minute or so. Let me just welcome you. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director for 10-Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so you want to trade carefully. Natural gas, we're on natural gas 10. Anybody, I was not home very early this morning, and normally I watch the 8:30 jobless claim report, and I always test the euro, the ECB refi rate, and the press conference trade. Did anybody look at any of those trades this morning? Any of those reports? I saw that the news on the jobs were down. Claims were down from 335 expected, and they were 310. That's considered good news. Continuous claims were a little bit higher, but that's not as important a number. So I didn't look at the markets yet for those news events. But the 8:30 report, it just hasn't been consistent. The ECB refi rate has not been consistent in years. That's been a report that, if you go back and look at the DMMs, no consistency whatsoever. That will probably never be a family money trade. I don't know why. I think it should be, but it isn't. I don't know why it's so inconsistent, but it is. Maybe because the euro is not the perfect instrument. You could probably have some results on the DAX, the euro, the pound. There's the eurozone is kind of fractured with Brexit. I mean, really, the eurozone is majorly, big time fractured. So, refi rate was small. The press conference, Ian, I don't ever trade that. That's a trade that has not been working for the past 6 months or so. And it's a trade that it's just a random reaction trade. And if you look at the DMM, it hasn't been tradable for a while. It went through a good period before the crisis in the world began. It went through a good period. The refi rate was small. Interesting. I mean, it hasn't been very, right now we're on the cusp. I think we're on the cusp of, I just like saying that, on the cusp of bigger bank moves when they start to make changes to their interest rates. Then we'll start to see very big moves in the bank rate reports. Although, the Canada report is moving, it just took us a little bit by surprise yesterday how slow it was to respond. So we're here for natural gas today. Natural gas, it's been trading incredibly well. It's really been trading well for a year and a half. That's the honest truth. It's been trading well for a year and a half. But one of the issues always with natural gas is sometimes somebody will have a winner, and on the same exact trade, sometimes somebody will get stopped because they get filled at the bottom or the top of the candle. So natural gas can look like a perfect winning trade, and it can actually be a loser. It's one of those reports where you can do all the analysis you want, but sometimes natural gas needs to be traded live to tell you the truth about what's happening with the event. And it's because it's relatively low liquidity and relatively low volume in relation to most of the other instruments that we trade. Although, this is becoming a mantra because gold is not the highest liquidity these days. So we're trading a fair amount of instruments that don't have incredible liquidity and volatility, and they have high volatility, and we're seeing errors because of that. And that's what creates errors. When you don't have orders that can be filled at the exact right moment, or if a market moves so fast that you don't get filled when you expect to get filled, it can really create havoc. And natural gas and oil can sometimes respond so quickly to a market reaction. They could have a market reaction that makes them respond so quickly that no software in the world would be able to keep up with that move. And we see that when, anytime people have errors, I always talk to the programmer. I always wind up sending him some output files. And it almost 99.9% of the time comes down to the same thing. All of the attempted trades, all of the attempted fills, stop placements were taking place in the same timestamp, meaning in the same nanosecond. Not in a second, but in a nanosecond. And when that happens, it can create an error. So that's an issue. That's the biggest issue trading events that, every trading methodology, every trading methodology has its greatest risk, right? I'm sure that every system that someone could teach you, if you ask them, well, what's the greatest risk that this system has? There will be something that they can point to. I believe anyway, that would be that system's particular greatest risk. For us, our greatest risk is an event that moves the market so fast that the software can't keep up. That's our greatest risk because it creates bad trades when that happens. And sometimes what's frustrating, just so people know the truth, sometimes what's frustrating is it could look like it should have been a perfect trade. In other words, the news result, for instance, with natural gas, you could have a news result today. They're expecting 40 billion or 39 billion if you're reading the Financial Juice's estimate. If you get 30 billion or say 20 billion, it's such a big difference. Sometimes such a big difference causes chaos in the market response because it's almost too much bad news or too much good news. So it does sometimes create unexpected behavior. This was last week's natural gas report. So here's the issue today, right? I am a little bit superstitious, which probably most traders are. And it's, you could say it's silly. but maybe it isn't. If you look at the DMM, right? If we look at our daily trade report on natural gas has not had a stop out. I can't remember the last stop out on natural gas. I want to start trading natural gas, but I like to wait for a stop before I start trading something like natural gas. I'd be waiting 10 weeks because I think there's been like 9 out of 10 good trades on natural gas. There was one DMM, 822, not 22. Let me see if I pull up last week's DMM. Let me just check something here. So here's last week's. Yeah, 722. That's what I was thinking. 722, we originally thought it was a win, but in fact, everybody that traded it lost money. Let's take a quick look at 722 so you could try to understand what can sometimes happen when a trade looks perfect, but in fact it's not. So 722, let me just find the video. I hope I have it easily handy. Come on, natural gas. Give me a second. So I spent the whole morning in a surgery center with my son. My son had surgery on his shoulder a year and a half ago, and it has not healed properly. And the doctor is such, I can't use the word to describe what an ass this doctor is. And he was I had to take him to the surgery center. Literally, he had major shoulder surgery a year and a half ago. And he kept telling the doctor that his shoulder hurts, and the doctor told him he needed a shrink. And I'm telling you, I am going to break the doctor's hand the next time I see him, just because I'm going to. And I'm not going to. I'm just so angry at him. And he had to get a shot in his nerve so they can try and figure out what's causing all the pain. And the doctor tried to make him out like he's crazy. We have had such horrifying experience with doctors this year. My daughter had major hip surgery at the Cleveland Clinic, no less, like one of the best places in the world. And it was the worst surgery outcome almost that a human being could have had. Suicide pain. And the doctor wouldn't call her. Just unbelievable, unbelievable the way these doctors have behaved. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't find 722 on natural gas. It's the one video that seems to be missing. I apologize. So you'll have to believe me. Natural gas on 722 had what appeared to be a fairly slow move, but because of poor liquidity that day and poor volume that day, people got filled very, very poorly at the bottom or the top of the candle. I don't remember if it was a long or a short that day. And instead of it being an easy winner, people got stopped. It looked like a perfect trade. Now, look at some of these natural gas trades. This was July 29th. It's been trading incredibly well. Now, the real perfect way, in my opinion, to trade natural gas, that was a shoot up. It was pretty quick that day. So I check my journal, because in my journal, I note, was natural gas, what did members in the room that trade natural gas, what'd they say about July 29th? Did they say it was so fast that they lost money? Or did they say that it was a 3-target winner? That was a 3-target winner for traders in the room. And it was faster than one of the reports that was difficult to trade. So sometimes you can get a very fast move that works perfectly. That happens. This was, watch how fast it is, but it was still a perfect move. I'm going to put my video on. Boom, it goes up. Sometimes you'll get that quick move. It'll just go through all your targets. It'll give you a perfect fill, and you'll be really happy. Other times it'll do the exact same thing. It'll look just like that, and it'll fill you at the top or the bottom of the candle, and you'll be very frustrated. So that was the winning trade on the 29th. Then we've got August 5th. Here's August 5th. That was a slower move. And August 5th, the reporting was natural gas. All targets hit live in the room by people that traded live. Okay, all targets hit. August 12th. I want to thank everybody on YouTube for coming and watching. If a couple of you would give us a like our stream, we'd appreciate it. You might want to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you know the next time we'll be streaming. We're streaming again this afternoon. August 12th, just looking at it, looks like a nice winner. What do the notes say? August 12th, another winner, hit all three targets. Okay, another winner, all three targets. Let's take a look at the 19th. So you see what I mean about natural gas. When I first got into this business, it was because of natural gas. I started trading natural gas with TradeStation. And I had no software. I was just manipulating orders on the dome and on the charts. August 19th. And I'm a TradeStation lover, but they do have a data feed that's a little bit on the slower side. Now, this is the trade, the 19th. Most people lost money on this trade. Even though it looks perfect, the fill was much worse than the fill that I got in Sim. People were filled at the bottom. A lot of them were filled at the bottom of the candle down here. And then when it reversed back up, they got stopped. My notes say that some people were able to get one target of about 5 ticks. And then when it reversed, they were stopped. Okay? So natural gas sometimes is deceptive in its behavior. It can be deceptive. Mark, I'm trading NG10. So how do you tell? How do you tell? Go to new, go to market analyzer, all right? Now, I have a little video on how to create this template. So you get instrument, volume, and days until rollover. Add today's natural gas, NG10. I can tell you right now, this 74,000 in volume, that's a lot. That's high volume for natural gas. NG11 is not going to be anywhere near that, okay? We're nowhere near NG11. And it's 15 days until rollover. So NG10 is the correct contract. Days until rollover, 15. We're right in the middle of the contract. Let's look at one more. Let's look at last week. Last week, I believe, was a 3-target winner. There's a cricket in my frickin' office. It's so loud. Can you all hear it? It's not. The minute I said that, it got quiet. That was last week. And my notes on last week's natural gas trade. It's Buddy Holly and the Crickets, maybe. Last week was September 2nd. Natural gas, perfect 3-target trade. Natural gas trading perfectly well. Okay. And that was a gorgeous looking trade, wasn't it? It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Under normal analysis conditions, you'd look at that kind of a move. It's fast, but you can see it draw. Normally, under normal conditions, when liquidity and orders are good, it's usually a good trade. And I say usually, it's not always, because natural gas, sometimes it'll skip your orders, sometimes it'll do unusual things because of liquidity. Today, we should not have a liquidity problem. Volume's pretty high. I'm checking my time sync by going to the website time.is, okay? Time.is. And there is a way you can look at liquidity before a trade. If you load the dome, Ninja has the super dome, right? And if you put the natural gas contract on that dome, now be careful, don't accidentally have a chart live and click on a place in the dome that might put an order in, okay? That's why you notice when I mess around with the dome, I always move to the side so I'm not clicking in this area here. You don't want to accidentally put an order on. So you could just look at natural gas does not have very high liquidity. That's not high. That's not a lot of orders, right? What can you compare it to truly understand liquidity? Let's take a look at ZN. Look at bonds, the 15-year, thousands of orders. So bonds, that's why in a bond trade, you sometimes might sit on a price and you think to yourself, why am I not getting filled? It's because it's got thousands of orders to fill ahead of you. You might have a whipsaw on natural gas because there's not a lot of orders, right? That's the result of lower liquidity, possibly, or a fill that is not where you expected it to be, right? Beyond your bracket. You could get positive slippage on a trade. In other words, you could have a trade that gives you extra points, extra ticks, because that happens just as often as going the other way. We know that. We've seen it a million times. So here's the natural gas setup. I want to trade natural gas. I want to wait for one stop. I really want to wait for one stop, but it's been trading so great that I'm going to trade one contract. If I get stopped today, then I'm just going to trade natural gas for a while in our test account, okay? I can't trade it in the family money account until we make a decision whether or not natural gas is going to be a family money trade. Now, I can call anything I want a family money trade. I can do whatever I want. Not because I'm a big shot, but because this is my thing. I designed what family money trades are. And don't get me wrong, I'm not bragging. I'm saying that it's really up to me what family money trades are. The issue with natural gas is I've been saying that I'm going to go through all the numbers. I know that if I go through all the numbers since the last time I went through all the numbers on the natural gas trades, which was about 2 months ago, I calculated that we were actually negative on natural gas. Then natural gas has been on a tear virtually for the whole summer, where it's only had, I believe it's only had maybe 2 stop outs the whole summer. Natural gas, if I go over the numbers, is very profitable. Trading 2 contracts for the past 2 months, I would say. Maybe even, I would say if we go back and test the whole year, I'd be willing to bet that natural gas is profitable for the whole year. That's what I believe. That's anecdotal based on watching trade after trade after trade make money in the trade room, right? But natural gas has been trading beautifully. The biggest problem is we can't shrink the stop. I've begged my tester, my trade tester, to check natural gas over and over. Can we change the stop and make it smaller? And I'm told no. There's too many trades that will lose money. You know what, Jeff? Natural gas has had 3 or 4 profits in a row easily with live fills on natural gas, easily. The reason I'm hesitant to call it a family money trade is because it's a guarantee that there are going to be occasional trades that blow through your stops, that cause extra losses, and that get people very uncomfortable. So that's the problem. Is it right to make it a family money trade when there can be a result that's very scary and not akin to what we would qualify as a family money trade? So that's really the problem. Is it just about money? I don't know that this is just about money. Let me go over the setup. So it's a 5 bracket. I'm just trading one position. I'm just looking for 8 ticks. I'm looking for target 2, okay? 8 ticks. I'm not going to trade a 15 tick stop for target 1, which is only 5 ticks. I just won't do that. It's not worth the trade. But if I can make 8 ticks and risk roughly 150, I can live with that. My entry time is 10:29:59. So it's a breakout trade. So I'm literally just trading one position, 8 tick profit, 15 tick stop, 5 tick bracket, entry time 10:29:59. And we're staying here for oil after this, okay? All right. Now, remember this morning, remember what I was saying? Now, I'm trading live, so I'm putting my charts on live. Then I'm putting my trade on. So in case I get my time wrong and I made a mistake, I can change my trade. I could turn off my trade by just clicking the check mark. Okay? I'm going to check my time sync again. There's a ton of people here, so thank you everybody for coming. Really appreciate it. If I don't say hello to you individually, it's because I have to do a whole bunch of extra clicking to see who's here. If you don't talk, I don't know that you're here. It's different than GoToWebinar. In GoToWebinar, I see everybody that's in the room all the time. But in our new software, this trade room we're using now, I'm checking my time sync by going to the website time.is. I can't see everybody. So that's why I don't always say hello to everybody. Now, there's no law that says if you don't like strange volatility that you see in natural gas before a report, you don't have to trade the report. Even if it's a family money trade, don't ever forget that if anything makes you uncomfortable, that you can pass on a trade, okay? With no embarrassment or no shame whatsoever. You don't have to trade if you're not comfortable about market behavior or anything. If you don't like, not everybody likes, for instance, let's say the bond trades, right? The bond trades have been more challenging than some of the other family money trades. If you don't like the bond trades, you don't have to trade every family money trade. I think you want to trade most of them, because if you try to pick and choose every single trade, you know you're always going to pick just the losing trades. That always is what happens with trading. And the key to a system is you want to trade the bulk of the trades, because that's what makes up the system. But if there are one or two reports that have not been behaving themselves, you can pass, and it should not negatively affect your profits. So there's no law, as I've said a million times, no law that says you have to do everything. And there's certainly no law that says you should follow me exactly. I don't want you to follow me exactly. You know, if somebody might go for 10 ticks today instead of 8, okay? Someone might try a 13 tick stop and see how it works for a couple of months, right? That's not unreasonable. That might be the only way we'll really know 100% if we can get away with changing our stop. So natural gas is very, very volatile this morning. And I'm never embarrassed if I don't trade. I mean, I have a family money trade today. I'm not required to trade natural gas. We're making a lot of changes that are coming very shortly in the trade room. I'll tell you that right now. We're making a lot of changes. I can't say what they are yet. We're going to be doing, well, I can't say, but there's going to be a lot more activity. So there's volatility this morning. Natural gas is down, you know, it's down on the day so far. So I'm just looking for one target. That doesn't mean it's easier, right? Doesn't make it easier to look for one target. And I'm in the test account. It's not the family money account. This is not a required trade at this point in time, okay? And I hit my target. Now, what happened, folks, is it was such a fast move that I would not be surprised if somebody had a bad reaction to that. I have a very fast computer with very fast internet, and I hit my target. I got my 8 ticks. I probably would have gotten 10 or 15 ticks, okay? Now, you see, Mark I. See how there was an error, but the trade worked perfectly? Mark? And that's because the stop wasn't ready, but it didn't matter because it hit my target. Okay? Sometimes, this is what I was saying before the trade. Sometimes there will be an error because the move is so darn fast. Look at the news. The news was 52 billion. It was a huge build. Huge. Totally unexpected. 12 billion is a big offset. That's a big offset. Okay? Michael, what does TP mean? What do you mean by TP? So Tahoe, do you understand? Did you get an error message and have a loser, or did you get an error message and have a winner? Didn't get filled. That will happen too, Jody, because it moved so fast, it jumped your order, okay? The order wasn't in a state of readiness, so it couldn't be filled, okay? Nothing wrong with anything. But let me show you the video so you totally understand why it happens. This is one of the things absolutely better than a loser. It could have, Jody, I want to be totally honest. It could have been a loser. It's possible. As when there is an order that's not in a state of being ready, normally what happens is the software generates an internal error and it shuts down. And that's why it doesn't fill, okay? Also, if an order is not in a state of readiness, it can't fill because the order isn't there. It's not there, okay? So tell me, Mark, you traded live and you got your 3 targets. Awesome, awesome. So I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. Who else traded? Please tell me what happened. Type in what happened, and you got to give me 1 minute, folks. We're staying in the room for oil. I'm not going on oil yet, but I have to heat up my coffee. You're going to just have to live with my habits. So bear with me. I absolutely got to heat up my coffee, but I want to put a message on the screen. Type in what happened. Wally got his targets. Nobody lost. Excuse me. It looks like everybody had a good trade. A couple of people had cancels, okay? A couple of people had cancels. That's fine. All right. Cancels are fine. All right. Cancels are fine. If you have a cancel, it's because usually your order couldn't be filled because the software wasn't ready because the move was too fast. So don't feel bad. Don't feel left out. Don't feel that something happened. JK, I'm still researching your situation, so I'll get back to you today. JK, I haven't gotten an answer yet. I think I know what the issue is, and I will email you today, absolutely. Believe me, it's a high priority for me, high priority. Hey, Jeff, I'm going to heat my coffee, and I'll come back and play the video in 2 minutes, okay? I'll be right back, right back. And I know you all can hear me. If I heat my coffee, I might lose my mic for a second, but the key is not to panic. If you don't get filled, don't always assume that something's wrong, because look, I had an error, and Mark traded 3 contracts and hit all the targets, and he did not get an error. Jody got an error, and her trade didn't fill. That's one of the more common results that we want. We want, if you get an error, that you don't get filled. That's what we prefer, okay? That would be the preferred reaction. Obviously, either targets getting hit or shutting down without a fill. That's what we don't want to happen, and we can't stop it, although I want to tell you the truth. I'm testing a new version of the software with all new error handling. We're testing all different ways of handling errors because the markets are changing. We invented this software 5 years ago, and we've improved it over and over and over again. And we're constantly working on ways to make it better. And one of the high priorities for this year is working on errors. That's something we're working on. So I just want to let you know. So AJ says, if you look at a tick range chart, oh, exactly. AJ, if you look at a 1 range chart, look at a 1 range chart. That's the perfect chart for seeing everything that happened in your trade. Every little move that natural gas made will show up on a 1 range chart. That's the chart that we use for significant analysis when we're confused, especially. The 1 range chart is the preferred chart for analysis, okay? Just saving a picture. If you all would send me some of your winning trades, the graphics showing the money in your trade chart trader, that would be tremendous because I have a webinar coming up soon. Jody, shut down your platform and bring it back, and bring it back. Shut down your platform and bring it back, and make sure that's gone. And then Jody, I didn't know you were going to be here today. I wanted to tell you something about what you asked me about, can a trade trigger? Shut down your platform, bring it back up, and then let me know when you're back, when the platform's, but just reboot your Ninja, that's all I'm saying. While you're doing that, I'm going to show the video. You'll see how fast this trade was. Jody, the other thing I would do, in any time you get something like that, that happens like that, on before you shut down, right click in the center of your chart trader and click cancel all orders. But you don't have orders. I'm telling you that they're not there. There's nothing there. But that will, if you did have an open order, it would cancel it. It would cancel it. You can shut down your platform and bring it back. Shut it down and bring it right back, and those orders will be gone. And they won't be there. They just won't be there. Right click before you shut down, and see how my mouse is in the middle of chart trader? Right click in a blank spot on chart trader, and you'll get this little menu. Cancel all orders is in the middle. Cancel all orders. Okay. That's a safety measure that sometimes we should probably, not sometimes, we should probably get back in the habit. That's something I used to do all the time, of just making sure all orders are canceled anyway. Right click in a blank spot in chart trader. Make sure all your orders are canceled. There's nothing wrong with doing that, right? It flattens everything. If there's things go haywire sometimes. It's part of trading. So here was today's trade. Jeff, is that what you wanted to see, just the trade itself? But the thing I'm saying is, look how fast it is. And look how the market tried to scare us out of this trade. 4 minutes before the trade, look at this candle right here. Look at this candle. Oh, I was covering it up too, which is a shame. I didn't know there was going to be a crazy candle. Maybe that's for the better. See, it already was starting to form a weird whipsaw candle. I noticed that, and it made me a little bit uncomfortable. But sometimes the market creates pre-trade volatility. See, it whipped, that tries to scare you out of trades. I rarely will let the market scare me out of a trade, rarely. Because every time in the past that I let the market scare me out of the trade, I missed a great trade. Look how fast this trade was. It tried to place my stop. My stop was not in a state of ready. It couldn't place or find my stop because my target had been hit already. So it hit my target, gave me immediate 8 ticks. I'm surprised I didn't get positive slippage today. Boom. And then it can't find the stop because there is no stop. My target was hit, okay? Why don't your fills, they do, you can't see them, Jeff. My fills, my short was 4.843. 4.843 was my short. Jody, remember you asked me, how do you prevent a trade from taking place if you forget to turn it off? Let's say you have a trade on. Auto disable after trade. If you have auto disable after trade clicked, then a trade can't accidentally take place, Jody. But I don't worry about it. That's the truth. It's so, I don't think I've ever seen it happen, Jody. I don't think I've ever seen it happen. But you can check that, and it can't happen, okay? I had asked the programmer because I did not know. I wanted to make sure that I was giving you the right info, okay? So I talk to the programmer regularly. If there's so much in our software, I don't know everything. It's just the way it is. I can't possibly know everything, all right? The reason they don't show in real time, Jeff, they don't show unless you remove the strategy. And that's something I want to have to see if the programmer can change. When the strategy is on the control panel, the orders don't show up. When you remove the strategy after the trade's over, the orders show up. And I want to be truthful. I forgot to ask him about that, and I'm going to ask him about it this week because I'm working on an update also, besides doing new error handling. So I can possibly get that added. It's been something that's been bugging me, and I want to get it added. So that may get resolved real quick. That's been something that it's just been the way it's been for years. All right, let's go to oil. Now, oil, I don't trade live because right now it's not in my plan. However, oil's been trading great. Now, if I were going to trade oil, I would reboot my platform in between two live trades. Just as a matter, it's like rebooting Windows, right? Why do you reboot Windows? To clear out cookies, to get rid of trash files sometimes. I do the same thing with my platform, okay? It's just, I think it's a good idea to reboot in between live trades. If you're not trading live, it's not as important because you're just practicing. I like to have things perfect as possible when I'm trading live, okay? Now, oil has been trading really well for the past, I'd say, a month and a half. With the beginning of the summer, we noticed oil was trading poorly. And then as the summer wore on, oil really started improving, okay? More and more members are trading oil. Oil is just as crazy as natural gas. Understand that if you trade the breakout, oil can absolutely do crazy things. Crazy things. Weldon, it's exactly what can happen when the market moves so fast, it could possibly think that it needs to place an order or shut down because it doesn't realize you hit your target or you hit a stop and it's trying to finish the trade, or it received an error and it's trying to close out. That's why those things happen. It's happening because the markets are ultra fast. That natural gas trade took place in a nanosecond. A nanosecond. If you look at your executions, now, mine are going to be different than yours, okay? If you go back to natural gas and look at your executions, you're going to see dozens of them all taking place at the same time. The same time. That's why these things can happen. It's not, and that it's the one thing you must understand about trading events. Things sometimes happen so fast that it can make a trade crazy, all right? But it doesn't happen enough to ruin the family money trading profitability. Look at the way our account is. I'm over 22. Now I might be, I should be over 22. And we started trading family money trades 13.5, 13.8, and that was in April. And I'm not trading 10 contracts. I traded one contract today. Now that wasn't a family money account, so forget that today. But my point is, there's trades where I only trade two. I only traded 2 bond contracts yesterday. I'm not trading gigantic to make, $10,000 a week. That's not the size I'm trading right now. Okay, let's look at the oil setup, and then we have a bond trade at 12:30. We'll be back in the room. Okay. And we're streaming that too. So oil's been trading really well. All right. The setup, the breakout setup is what I'm interested in looking at. So who's trading oil live using our exact settings, using the DMM settings? The DMM settings are a 10 bracket. Just make sure you get the time right, because it's a different time because of the holiday today. Okay. 1 target for 7 ticks, 1 target for 15. That's what we have on the sheet. Obviously, you could probably do 9 and 20. Oil's trading so well. I like to start my first target small, smallish. Not too small, because we're finding too small doesn't like fast markets. Okay? So we're finding that slightly larger targets help with fast market errors. Entry time, make sure you're right on the entry time, because it's an 11 o'clock trade today. 10:59, 58. 10:59, 58 is the entry time. Okay? I like to label all my trades. You all know me by now. Oil report. I'm not live on oil because it's not in my plan. And, if oil continues to trade well, I may add it. I like trading oil. I really didn't anticipate that oil was going to be start trading this well so soon before the summer was even over. I was anticipating starting now, we would just start to look at oil starting to trade better, but it has surprised us by starting to trade well 6 weeks ago, probably even before that. Okay. Mark, I don't know what you mean on that. I don't know what you mean. So the setup that I'm testing today is a bracket of 10, 1 position for 7 ticks, 1 position for 15 ticks. The stop is 12. My entry time is 10, 59, 58, because this is an 11 o'clock trade. 11 o'clock trade. And I'm enabling it. I'm going to check our time sync. When I trade in test mode, if I'm doing test mode, I still trade exactly the same way as if I'm trading live. In other words, I don't fool around trading 30 contracts to see what would happen. I say the same things over and over and over. When you're testing, when you're back testing, when you're playing back previous trades, trade the way you would trade live, so the habits you create are the habits you take into your live trades. What would be the point of trading 30 contracts? If you're not trading 30 contracts live, there would be no point to it, because you'd want to manage your trade completely differently if you're trading with that much risk. Okay. AJ, years ago, it's funny, everything moved on oil years ago. When we first started the company, AJ, we traded oil for every report. Can you imagine that? Oil for every report. Oil was over $100. Nowadays, they don't seem to affect each other very dramatically, AJ. But I want to be honest, I have not looked in a long time. but over history, there was not a crude trade on the natural gas news, and there was not an oil trade, I mean a crude trade, a natural gas trade on the oil news. Okay. Now there is a micro with oil, MCL. It's a new micro, and it's got pretty decent, not bad liquidity. Same contract. So we can look at MCL on a 1-minute chart to see how it's different in its move. The reason I like a 30-second chart on oil and gas is we have an alternative setup that we used to use, using the squeeze indicator and a 30-second chart. I'm not going to get into it today. I don't want to confuse people. There's not a lot of time. But sometime, I think down the road, maybe we'll talk about a secondary possible trade for oil and gas that has been somewhat effective. Don't forget that if you like discretionary trading, and if you like trading after the news, when you feel that you're good at finding a trend, make the squeeze play setup your best friend, because the squeeze play setup is a piece of our software, a part of our software that will help you to use the software for discretionary trading. Okay. Now I'm seeing a lot of people on YouTube. Thank you for being there. We'd love it if you give us a like. Give us a couple of more likes over there. Sign up for the channel. We're going to stream again this afternoon. Test, if your time is still late, download the atomic clock. It's in the folder in the trade room. It's in the open folder, as is Dimension 4. Atomic Clock is another time sync program. There are computers that just don't respond well to time.is. Some people's computers just don't get into sync from time.is. Atomic Clock is in the room drive folder in the trade room, and you can download it. Just anything you download that isn't yours, make sure you virus scan it before you use it, before you try to install it. And if Atomic Clock doesn't work, you can try Dimension 4. You can try Windows Sync. Also, if you have a dead battery or a dying battery, that can really negatively affect your CMOS battery if your computer is not fairly new. It's pretty rare though. Apple announced, I see Apple's down a little bit, but the stock it's been at all-time highs. They announced a new event. They're coming out with a new watch, a new iPhone 13, time.is. It puts my computer right on sync. It likes my computer. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't put you in sync, then try Atomic Clock. That's the easiest sync program out there. Apple should, I think their event's going to be, if they get rid of the notch, I'd consider using an Apple. I just can't tolerate that notch. Can't stand the way the iPhone looks. The screen is just, to me, it's the most horrible screen. I can't bear it. But what's good about it, though, is you know immediately what phone someone's using because of the notch. I don't think they'll get rid of it. But I always hated it. But new watch, bigger screen, I'm hearing. I think the stock is nowhere near how high it's going to go. I remember shorting Apple at 18. Can you imagine that? Shorting Apple at 18? I can't imagine. I was shorting Apple at 18. That's how how good a stock trader I was. It's not even funny. Really, that's not even funny. Shorting Apple 18. And I was sure I was right. I was so sure. And I just remember it kept going up and it kept going up and it kept going up. And you know that feeling when you're in a trade and it keeps going against you and you're in such a state of shock. You're like a deer in the headlights. You can't get out of the trade. You can't add to the trade. You can't do anything to help yourself. I don't miss those days. I don't miss those days. When I discovered event trading, it was like my life found happiness. It's the only way I can explain it. My life found happiness. So I guess I'll put the 1 minute on MCL. We'll see what the difference, what the move looks like on MCL differently. I've noticed a little bit that MCL, at least anecdotally, and when I say anecdotally, all that means is something I've noticed, not something I've tested. I've noticed that MCL tends to create larger low volume wicks than the normal crude contract. At least I've seen it happen a bunch of times while we're trading the oil report. Test, right now we're too close to the trade, so you install the program. Okay, we got 1 minute. All right, for 50 seconds. Test Google atomic clock after the trade room. Make Google your friend, and it'll show you what to do. Because we have another room at 12:30, and I have to leave after this trade. 30 seconds. So oil, the number, they're looking for a big drawdown, a big drawdown. Over 4.5 million. So if there's a build, you'll see price shoot down first, most probably. But it's a little bit volatile this week, the energies. They've been volatile, hurricane related, very possibly. So the news is out and not much of a response. Slow, okay, slow. Hits the first target. You want to shrink your stop so you don't get a full stop out, right? Shrink your stop. Trail your stop if you can, right? Trail your stop if you can. There's much more oil around than expected. Okay, so now I can put my stop to safety. It may back up and hit me, right? It may back up and hit me. I'm trying to protect that price from hitting me and still stay profitable. So this looks to me, okay, so I would say anyone who traded live should have been able to hit and take a first profit. Did anyone trade live? Mark, you didn't like the move. See, I don't mind that slow move. I don't mind that slow move. That didn't scare me today. I wouldn't, that move was not worrisome. I thought it was going to hit that first target. I wasn't sure it was going to follow through because you're negative 1.5 million. They were expecting 4.5 million barrels. So you have a lot more oil around. So it should have pushed it. It should have pushed it down, you know, and it did. But oil often reverses so much. Yeah, Tess, that's what I thought would have happened. First target and then break even on target 2. It never followed through. Never followed through. All right, folks, Tess, try and Google atomic clock. It'll show you what to do. If you can't figure it out, Remind me in the next trade room. Yeah, Wally, you don't want to have big targets on oil. You don't want to have big targets on oil or gas because of that. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face. I don't even know why I'm saying that. Don't cut off a winner by trying to get too much on the first target. Because oil changes direction too quickly. That's one of the issues. It changes direction too quickly. All right. Any other questions, folks? We'll be back 12:30 for 30-year bonds. That's a money trade. And 30 years been better than 30 and 20 have been the better bond trades. They've been trading better. So those are trades I'm not as worried about as the 7 and the 10. They haven't been trading as well. So I'll see everybody at 12:30 for the 30-year bond. Jody, have a good trip. And I guess you'll be in New York the next time we see you. All right. So the weather should be clearing up by the time you get there. It was a little bit rainy, but I think it's going to be a really nice, I hope it's going to be a really nice weekend. I need a good weekend this weekend. All right, folks. I'll see everybody 12:30. See you later.